speaking from Abridge Village Church again. For those of you worshipping at home this weekend, and those of you preparing to come to be with us, here are a few reflections on the story for our service for Sunday, 24th of October. It comes from the end of chapter 10 in Mark's Gospel. It's only a short story, but there's so much in it for us today. So perhaps first let's listen to the story.
Then they came to Jericho. As Jesus and his disciples, together with a large crowd, were leaving the city, a blind man, Bartimaeus, which means son of Timaeus, was sitting by the roadside begging. When he heard that it was Jesus of Nazareth, he began to shout, "Jesus, Son of David, have mercy on me." Many rebuked him and told him to be quiet, but he shouted all the more, "Son of David, have mercy on me." Jesus stopped and said, "Call him." So they called to the blind man, "Cheer up, on your feet, he's calling you." Throwing his cloak aside, he jumped to his feet and came to Jesus. "What do you want me to do for you?" Jesus asked him. The blind man said, "Rabbi, I want to see." "Go," said Jesus. "Your faith has healed you." Immediately he received his sight and followed Jesus along the road.
Jesus and his disciples have come very close to the end of their long journey south, from the far north of the country down to the capital. And they reached Jericho first, and then they are about to start the long walk up the steep road to Jerusalem, when someone shouting out loud for help interrupts their journey. Now, beggars by the roadside were a common sight in those days, and indeed they still are with us today. It seems that whatever progress societies make, there are always those who fall through the net and who end up in need of charity in some form or another. And that's exactly what happened to this blind beggar. We don't even know his first name, only that he was the son of Timaeus. That's what Bartimaeus means in the Hebrew. But I suppose that it's at least something in a society where those in need usually went unnamed and unnoticed. And it's not just that he was blind. The truth is, most people were blind to him most of the time. They didn't want to see him. Bartimaeus, you see, isn't the only blind person in this story. And maybe that's why Mark records this, because so many of us are blind to those who need help. The crowd even try to shut him up when he calls out to Jesus for help. They don't want to share their Jesus with the likes of him. Perhaps they were still more focused on crowning him as king in Jerusalem. But of course, as we saw last week, they had completely misunderstood what sort of king he was going to be. In contrast, Bartimaeus is one of the few people who call Jesus by his proper title. "Jesus, Son of David, have mercy on me," he cries out. He may not be able to see, but he does see in a deep way who Jesus really is. He's the promised one, the Messiah, the one who's going to rescue the world, the Son of David. Again, maybe Mark is telling us that those who think they see often don't, and those who can't see do see what's really true. And despite all the noise and resistance of the crowd, Jesus does notice him and calls him to come. In Jesus, we see what God is like. God notices those who no one else bothers with. In Jesus, God comes close to those no one else comes close to. No one is outside the reach of God's love. But also notice how gently Jesus deals with this beggar by the roadside. Jesus starts by wanting to listen to what the man has to say. Too often when we meet people in need, we want to rush in and fix the problem without taking time to find out what the person really wants. I wonder if anyone had ever bothered to talk to Bartimaeus like this before. Now, of course, Bartimaeus wants to see again, although he's already proved he sees more than some of the crowd, at least as far as Jesus is concerned. And he also addresses Jesus as his dear master. The term in Hebrew is Rabboni. The next time we hear this is from the lips of Mary in the garden when she turns to see Jesus risen from the dead. Bartimaeus not only knew that Jesus was God on earth, but that Jesus could be an intimate teacher and friend to each one of us. Bartimaeus was healed of his blindness, but there was so much more as well. He starts a life of following Jesus. He becomes a disciple. He joins the others on the road to Jerusalem. And maybe his cry for help inspired the crowds on Palm Sunday, which is the next story, when they all began singing, "Hosanna to the Son of David." I wonder, who are the ones who are really blind in this story? I wonder if those who think they can see, in fact, miss lots of things. And I wonder what you would have thought and done and said if you'd been there in this story. And I wonder what you might have learnt from it.
This is the story of when blind Bartimaeus met Jesus. He couldn't see the sun, he couldn't see the trees. Blind old Bartimaeus, he couldn't see. But Bartimaeus heard Jesus walking by. Jesus, he could help me. And so he cried, Jesus, Son of David, Jesus, please be kind. Jesus, Son of David, hear me, I am blind. The people all around called out as they passed by, quiet, Bartimaeus, but still he cried, Jesus, Son of David, Jesus, please be kind. Jesus, Son of David, hear me, I am blind. Then Jesus stopped and spoke, Bartimaeus, you will see. I have healed your blindness 'cause you trusted me. Jesus, Son of David, Jesus, he is kind. Jesus, Son of David, heal me, I was blind. Jesus, Son of David, Jesus, he is kind. Jesus, Son of David, heal me, I was blind.